Good evening, I'm Bryn Weiss in for David Aiken, and welcome to this special edition of Battleground, where we will look exclusively at the battle for Toronto and the race for the mayor's chair. And we start tonight with one of the three big names vying for Toronto's top job. Olivia Chow has been a city councillor. You were an NDP MP as well, and you're here joining us in studio, and we do appreciate your time. Let's start first off with the campaign and these new poll numbers that are out today from Forum Research that show John Tory is opening up a big lead. Do you put any faith in these numbers? Do they tell you anything about your campaign?
I don't really comment on polls. It goes up and down, and it's like weather forecasting. So I do know that our city needs a new mayor, and that it's important to invest in our children and families. I have a good track record in doing that. I have the experience to get things done. And the message that I'm talking about, putting children and families in the heart of our city, moving people faster and creating jobs for young people, are resonating very well.
And let's talk about that, because I know after-school programs is a big part of your platform. Housing are issues that are close to your heart. But transit is undoubtedly perhaps the big issue in this election. And all the major candidates have put forward a transit plan. Yours, I don't want to say it's less sexy, but buses are perhaps less sexy. But I'll give you a chance now to explain your transit plan and how you would get Torontonians moving quicker.
Well, actually, 6 out of 10 people take the bus. So it's important to increase bus service. But that's not the only piece of my plan. So let's increase bus services by 10%. It's important to do because we are right now jammed like sardines into buses. You know, feels like sardines sometimes. Yeah. And we also need to put shovel in the ground. In the last few years, 4 years, we've been studying, the city have been studying above ground train service, whether it's on Finch, in Scarborough, or out in Shepherd. And we need to stop. The study is finished. Let's just build them.
Yeah, so this is the light rail transit in Scarborough.
And on Finch, on the Etobicoke North York side. And then there's one that continue the go from Kennedy to McCowan. We need to do that. And we need to have a subway relief line, because people, again, you can't get on the young subway or the Bloor Danforth. But in the meantime, we also need to upgrade those signals, because the subway signals are really old. If we upgrade the signals, we can increase the capacity by 20%.
Yeah. How do you propose paying for this plan? And I raised that because yesterday you attacked John Tory, saying his plan would require a hike in taxes to pay for his transit plan. Would you hike taxes to pay for your transit plan?
Well, first thing I would do is to not spend the extra $1 billion that we don't need to spend, because the experts are saying that you don't need to build underground. You can build above ground. You have better service, 4 more stops. You can build it 4 years faster. This is in one part of Scarborough. So that right there, you save $1 billion, right? In terms of all the other things that we need to do, the light rapid transit, the above ground train, are paid for 100% by the province of Ontario. We should hold them to it. They made the promise. They got elected. Let's make sure they do it. Okay, and then
the downtown relief line is going to be a costly part of that.
Exactly. So. Now that has been part of what the Metrolink, the province of Ontario, talking about big move. And it's the TTC top priority. Let's get on with it. Let's get the study done. And in terms of paying for it, you know, if we have to do a property tax increases, we're going to say to the federal and provincial government, you come and partner with us, we'll do it together. And then we may have to add that $1 billion back on, but we're saving the $1 billion there. We may have to then go back and say, but what I want to do is make sure that the property tax increases are around the rate of inflation. And because if it's too high, you know, it's bad for the small businesses. It's bad for homeowners that are with fixed income, like seniors.
And recently, I think it's probably fair to say you've been campaigning a bit as a centrist, and you've talked about trying to be, fiscally conservative as a mayor. And on social media and elsewhere, people of your traditional NDP base, given your history with the NDP, are sort of lamenting that you're not running as a left-of-center mayor when you talk about being fiscally conservative and keeping tax rate either no tax hikes or within the rate of inflation. Some people might say that you've left your traditional base, and are you worried maybe there'll be blowback like there was for Andrea Horwath in the recent provincial election, that your traditional base might not come out and vote for you?
No, absolutely not. I am left of center. I am progressive. I'm the only progressive candidate in this race, right? And that doesn't mean that we have to tax everybody, right? But I'm the one that's talking about building affordable housing. That's pretty, I don't hear anybody else talking about building affordable housing, right? I'm talking. And how do we do that? We can work with the developers to say to them, look, if you build affordable housing, we'll give you a deferral of your taxes that you have to pay, which it's in the form of, they call it development charges, right? So we will defer that, and you don't have to pay it as long as you keep the units, 20% of the units, and we can build 15,000 units of affordable housing. So I'm the one that's actually talking about after-school activities, affordable housing, all these so-called left issues. You know what? The municipal politics, unlike the House of Commons that you have been, I've been in Ottawa, it's always competitive. In municipal politics, what's so wonderful is that you can work. It doesn't matter what political spectrum, left, right, center, whichever party, you just get things done. And I have that experience to do it.
I want to go back just briefly to your statement yesterday about John Tory's transit plan, because I want to get from you a sense whether your criticism is that you don't think he's being forthright with his plan that won't require more taxes, or if you think taxing for transit is bad. And the reason I ask that is because in 2003, when you were city councillor, you moved a motion that called for a 1% property tax increase for 2004, 5, and 6 years, I believe, seconded by David Signacki, we should point out, in order to pay for the ridership growth strategy and the subway expansion plan. So is that still a good model, increasing property taxes for transit?
Rob Ford just did that, to build his Scarborough subway. If you get your property tax bill, you see this one line to say transit, and that's the $1 billion. But what I'm saying about Mr. Tory's plan is that you can't build anything without paying for it. What he's saying to people is that, oh, we'll build transit, but don't worry, you don't have to pay for it. I don't think that works. In my books, in all my experience, all these years, it doesn't matter which level of government, is that you can't get something with nothing.
And this is the tax increment financing. You just don't buy it, the tax increment financing plan.
You still have to go borrow the money because you can't get the money until later. You have to go borrow the money, okay? When you borrow money, you and I know you have to pay interest. He's saying that he's going to borrow $2.6 billion. You know how much? Well, that's $160 million of carrying charges. That's 4% property tax increase. Be upfront. You can't say that you don't have to pay for anything, that you can keep tax low while you're going to build something. I'm being very practical, pretty modest. I'm taking the plan that TDC and Metrolinx already have. I'm not creating new plans. Mr. Tory's creating some new fancy plan, call it a good name, and then said, don't worry, you don't have to pay for it. I'm not sure it works that way.
I want to get one short little answer in before we have to go to break, and it's this idea of the anyone but Rob Ford vote. I've heard you speak about it, I've heard John Tory speak about it, and early on it seemed that you were sort of the anyone but Rob Ford candidate, at least according to the polls, which I know politicians don't talk about. Are you worried that you may have lost that position, and maybe it is going to John Tory? Do you have to change anything in your campaign to again be the anyone but Rob Ford candidate?
I think it's important that we vote not based on fear. We vote based on hope. Hope that our kids and our lives will have will be better lives, better city, that we are creating a better future for our children. Vote based on hope rather than fear. Say, oh, we don't want, fear of Rob Ford or fear of something. Because when we make our decisions in our daily lives based on fear, sometimes we make mistakes. And I think it's important that we, based on whatever we decide in life or in elections, on hope for a better future, that we can do better for our kids, we can create a better, more caring government. That's what I want to push for.
Oh, well, great. Olivia Chow, thanks very much for the chat, and good luck in the campaign.
Thank you.